The SoccerBeat podcast. We're talking Kaizer Chiefs today with a live match reaction, and I've got Tsepo Masilela with me. Amakhosi are through into the group stages of the CAF Confed Cup after two difficult qualifying rounds. Tsepo, that first half, they came out, they meant business, and the changes worked. Vilakazi, Lilepo down on the left side instead of the right. They kind of blew them away in the first part of the game, and your man Ighodaro on target as well. You could see straight away Chiefs had all the intent to get through in this tie.
Yeah, it's always nice to get the early goals and the net settles and everyone gets going. But congratulations to Kaizer Chiefs and the coaches. We have to give them credit. Job well done. And part of assembling a big squad, is to anticipate that you might go far in competitions like this. So it gives them these extra matches to play, and I'm sure that the team is happy, because there's extra matches to play, but there's also room for growth for the young boys. When you travel, you play in Africa, so we're hoping they're gonna come back at different Kaizer Chiefs after the competition. I don't know how far they'll go. I don't see them going all the way. I would love for them to go all the way, but I don't think they're ready yet. But being in the group stages is also a huge benefit for a team like Kaizer Chiefs.
Yeah, and I mean, as you say, they are a lot of young players. Vilakazi, Shabalala, obviously academy development players. Makabi starting today as well, development player. Even Zitha Kwinika, of course, is from the development. So it's obviously going to be great for those younger players to play 6 group games in this competition. Hopefully get through and get into the knockouts and have that experience. But maybe it's a year too early for some of these younger players. But let's get on to the team selection. When that lineup came out, we saw no Ignacio Miguel injured, Aidan McCarthy into the team. In midfield, we saw Mshini selected in that midfield next to Ox instead of one of your favorites, Tabutele. And then in attack, it was Vilakazi and not Mordi, which Mordi's been playing most of these games of late. Vilakazi actually he only started 3 games for Chiefs before this week, and now he's had 2 starts in a week. So quite a positive selection, especially because, looking at those 3, McCarthy gives you more on the ball. Mshini, maybe we'll debate, but him and Sele, I think he gives quite a lot in line-breaking passes. And Vilakazi as well can play those slide rule passes more than Mordi maybe. So what do you think of that team? I mean, I think it gave a blueprint for maybe what they can do in the league as well.
Yeah, definitely. The changes with the Kele situation, sometimes your last performance, it puts you, or it sets you up for the next game to give the coaches headache. But I don't think he did well in his last, previous game for Kaizer Chiefs against Suwanela. So, he'll have to work hard also. And as we've spoken about it, in the midfield, it seems like they have a lot of options. They have Mabua, they have Ndovu, Muto, so it's a competition and it's a fight in that position. But, it was also nice to see Mshini back. And, with this Kaizer Chiefs team, we haven't, I don't know how to put it, but they are core of the team. Today you see Solomon, tomorrow you see a River, Fosla, tomorrow you might see a Tabo. So, maybe they're giving most of the guys a chance, to convince the coaches to say, Coach, I've raised up my hand and, I'm ready to summon the position. But that's the other problem with Kaizer Chiefs. It was nice to see again Vilakazi. I think he's listen, man, after watching the boy at the under-20s, and the past 2 games, 2 assists today, if I'm not mistaken, so he's deservedly so, he got the starting lineup, and, he's a breath of fresh air, like the fans. He's a fans' favorite, and not only that, like the boy, he delivers, I think he's still gonna improve a lot, but from the little that we've seen, the best way to get experience is by playing.
Yeah, and he's still a teenager. We must remember that. Guys, just before we crack on a little bit more, I wanna actually bring Tsepo back to the Tabutele and that whole issue. But guys, please hit that subscribe and that like button. And with these live shows, get your comments in there. Often we'll read them live and we'll be able to pick up what you want us to actually talk about in the match reaction. But let's go to Tele now. But by my count, it's 1 start in the last 8 games. That's quite a concern for him. I mean, that's a lot of fixtures where he's been left out. These co-coaches, basically since they took over, haven't really been selecting him. I mean, you mentioned in the Stellies game in the cup that you saw a bit of sort of having a go at the bench. So maybe his relationship isn't the best with these coaches. And for whatever reason, Mshini, in the shape with Ox doing so much of the legwork, he can get on the ball and break those lines and not have to maybe get box to box. He can just sit there, get the ball and play. I mean, it's worrying for Tsele. For me personally, I know he's one of your favorites, but I think he needs to do more in terms of trying to be creative when he's on the ball instead of just keep ball player. What do you make of the whole situation? I know that you basically said he's a cut above a lot of the other midfielders, but now maybe he's like down. I think he's below maybe even Ndlovu in the pecking order. Maybe if it even came to, they might select Mabue or Matlaude. They both came on in the deeper midfield areas and he didn't. I mean, should he be worried, or do you think it's just a matter of time before his class comes through?
No, as I said before, that midfield is packed and there's a lot of options, meaning that you've got no room to relax or to, have a bad game, because one bad game you might find yourself, behind the pecking order. So for him, man, it's a professional, and as I said, your last performance, sometimes it puts you in the team. But I don't really think his last performance, it warranted him a place in today's game. And yeah, he's a professional. I think he's a big boy, and he'll figure it out, and work hard also. It's always like that in football, Grant. Once the coach leaves and there's a new, it's not a completely new coach, but there's casualties and there's changes. It's always the case in football. Maybe is I wouldn't put it in a way that the coaches don't favor him, because they've given him also a chance in the last game. So it's up to him also to grab this opportunity. But in football, it's always like that. Now we see a Vilakazi that's starting, in 2 games in a row. Hopefully, we'll play again. So those are the scenarios in football. But I still feel that Kaizer is going to help the team, and them making it to the group stages, it gives them more games. And there's traveling, there's domestic fixtures, away fixtures, so I'm pretty much sure that he's still going to play, and it's going to play
I think
a
it's
huge role in the team.
I think what you're saying makes sense. Chiefs have been signing players to have competition. He starts in midweek. If he played well, he might have kept his place. And now there's real competition. If he knows if he gets another start, then he has to play well to try and keep the other players on the bench. So that's a good thing. Let's just talk about a little bit about Lilepo. Today he scored a goal. He set up the first goal. He even won the free kick, which Vilakazi swung in for Kwinika's goal. One of his more effective games, maybe motivated by playing against his countrymen. Unfortunately, a bit of an ankle injury in the first half. Let's hope for his sake he shakes it off to play against Durban City on next Friday. But probably one of his better games, and we finally see some end product. I wonder having Vilakazi might help him, because there's less pressure on him to do so much of the creating and the dribbling with another player. Would you go with these two again against Durban City? I mean, Vilakazi and Lilepo on the left, assuming he's fit, might be the way to go, because Durban City are probably going to make themselves hard to beat with a low block.
No, definitely. Also, assuming his feet, I'll definitely go with him and Vilakazi. Also, the aerial threat, it comes to play. Look at the goal scored today, from a set piece, Vilakazi, wonderful header. So, from an aerial threat, also, listen, Lilepo has been, in that attack, he's the one that's more dangerous. Even though, he doesn't convert as much chances as he gets, but let's assume he converted maybe half of those chances he gets. He's the one that's a goal threat in that attack. To be honest, in my opinion, Shabalala, he drops and he combines, he can make runs behind, but the guy that's a goal threat in that attack, front four, if you want to call it, if they're playing a 4-2-3-1 with the front four with a long striker, I would say he's a goal threat, in that Kaizer Chiefs team. And with players, you miss some, you score some, but Lilepo in this Kaizer Chiefs team he starts any day.
Before we crack onto the Durban City match, obviously against Chiefs' former coach Gavin Hunt, I just want to bring us to Zitha Kwinika. Last season, he was completely out of favor for pretty much the first 75-80% of the season. He comes in, he plays in Nedbank Cup winning campaign because of all the injuries. This season, he's forced himself into the team. He's basically the first choice centre back right now. And of course, Msimango's back in training. If the supporters haven't heard, he's had about a week. So I think maybe even the next game or the one after that, we might see him back on the bench. I mean, Kwinika deserves so much credit because he's been captain. Now Peterson's taken over the armband. He just delivers every game. He's steady. He's doing a good job. He scored today as well. I mean, these are the sort of players that Chiefs need in their squad, whether they're starters or squad players. I mean, these sort of professionals, I think we just have to give a bit of credit to him because I don't think anyone would have seen him turning it around maybe in March last year. We probably would have thought he would be offloaded and he would have signed for some other club. And now he's basically one of the first few names on the team sheet, one of those core players is, that they're looking for.
What a wonderful story of Zitha, coming through from the development ranks. When I was there, he got promoted to the first team, actually. When I was still at Kaizer Chiefs, unfortunately, he couldn't get game time, so they had to loan him out. But listen, man, he's got a big heart. It shows, that the boy's got a big heart, and he is very focused also on his craft. It's not about who's wearing an arm belt for him. It's about putting the team first. You want such players. If you look at Zitha, you look at the Maguire that side in the menu team. It's you can say almost similar situation.